Welcome to the village. A new podcast focusing on the students, staff, and community members that make Village Elementary unique. I am Chelsea Evans, one of your co-hosts.
And I'm Jacob Kucha, your other co-host. We're coming to you from a variety of places today. Currently, we're in the coach's office in the A Wing at Village Elementary, and the interview that you'll hear later was recorded in Mr. Esau's music room. We're moving everywhere.
We're finding it very hard to find a great location to record, but hopefully the stream students will have our studio ready soon.
Absolutely. We mentioned on our first episode that we wanted you, our listeners, to reach out with any ideas for music, intros, taglines, artwork, or anything creative. I've heard from a couple of students, but we still need you to give us a call or an email ASAP so we can get to work on those.
We're very excited about our first ever guest on the podcast, who not only is a teacher, but in fact is a master teacher.
Nice lead, Miss Evans. Coming to you now is the one and only Mr. Andy Battenfield. We're here with Mr. Battenfield, recently an award winner of some type for the state of Kansas. Can you give us some background on what that is?
Sure, it's the Master Teacher Award, and it's been going on for quite a few number of years. I'm not sure exactly when it started. I think like in the 1950s, I think. And there's a lot of teachers who are nominated within their school district, and then the Emporia State University and other organizations work together to select 7 of those to be like the class of that year for master teacher.
Gotcha. So you're one of 7
for
2021 or 2?
2022.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. And so how did you get, I guess, nominated?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
There was a teacher within the school district who noticed me like over the summer working with kids, and she had found out that I had done a lot of other things outside of the school day, and thought that I would be a good nominee for that. So, what
kind of things did she figure out that you had been doing outside of school? Because we all see you at Village, and you're very good at what you do, but what were the extracurriculars that other people were noticing?
The summer softball that I've coached for, I think, 10 summers. I've done that just volunteer on a volunteer basis. The first couple of summers was with my daughter, but then I enjoyed it so much I just kept going. So,
and then I know for a while you were working at Camp Wood, right?
Camp Wilson.
Camp Wilson,
yeah.
Sorry. Which is, I mean, whether you were getting paid or not isn't necessarily important, but the fact that it's another way that you were positively impacting kids in our community.
Yeah.
You just can't stay away, can you?
Yeah. I did that for 12 summers, and that was a really good time. I enjoyed doing all those camp things, like with new kids that I didn't get to see at the school that I was at. So that was really cool.
Neat. Well, we also have some scripted questions here for you, and so I think it feels like you're in a job interview, and so I apologize, but the first one's a hard hitter. What's your philosophy on teaching?
My philosophy is to try to make a student's day better, and that's kind of my thing. Whenever a student walks in at the beginning of the school day or walks into the gym, I'm going to try to see if I can make their day just a little bit better.
Neat.
Well, I definitely see that around the building. Every time kids see you, it seems like they are just over the moon to see you. So I think you're fulfilling that for sure. Which maybe kind of leads into this. So what do you find as your biggest joy in teaching?
Biggest joy, I think just being able to do something that I love to do. I feel very lucky and fortunate to be able to be in this position, considering the way I grew up, and I just enjoy doing what I do, and I make it a point to where I make sure that I don't call this work. I don't tell my wife I'm going to work every day. I tell her I'm going to school.
That's an important difference.
Definitely.
It is a big difference.
Yeah.
You said because of the way you grew up. What do you mean by that?
Very poor childhood. We didn't have a whole lot and didn't really know how to navigate to get into college. And I didn't even take that route. After high school, I worked in construction and built houses and built bridges for a few years before I realized that I probably need to go to school because I don't think I can do this the rest of my life.
And you've talked to us, because I think the reason I ask this is because it probably connects to some of our students and maybe even some of the other teachers that'll listen. But in your childhood, you moved around quite a bit, isn't that right?
Yes. I went to quite a few schools. I believe 11 schools is that what I went to between kindergarten to ninth grade.
Goodness gracious. All around Kansas, or?
Started in Arkansas. I was only in one school in Arkansas when I was in elementary, and then when I moved up to Kansas, and then we kind of moved quite a bit around in Kansas.
Here's a question that hopefully will help students. I'm imagining that probably wasn't easy. You may not have known if it was easy or hard when you were a kid, but knowing what you know now, let's say that there's a fourth or a fifth grader who's their family's doing that thing now. What would you tell that kid to do to keep them focused on positive parts of life or of school? What advice would you have?
Probably just, tell them that, things will get better. Just try to keep your head up and just try to, whenever you get to be where you can make decisions for yourself, try to make decisions so that you don't have to do those kind of things if this is something you don't like.
That's really good advice. Not just for our students, but for all of us adults too.
Trying to think of which question is the best one to go to next. So how long have you been teaching?
This is my 19th year of teaching.
19th year. So then I guess something that my students and I wanted to know about you and your position is, how has technology changed what you do as a PE teacher in your 19-year career?
In my early years of teaching, there was hardly any technology kind of stuff that we would use. I mean, sometimes we would have step counters if the school could afford those. But now it's to the point where I'm using technology almost every day, whether it's projector or timers and YouTubes and all sorts of things like that. So,
are there any particular students that you keep in contact with from earlier on in your career?
The ones I mostly stay in contact with are ones just that maybe have students that go to school now, and the ones that I see in the drop-off line or when they come into the school, that sort of thing. I don't believe I have any students that I just reach out to or anything like that.
Are there any students right now that you have that might be listening that you taught their parents also?
Oh yeah,
A lot?
There's quite a few. Yeah.
That has to be pretty cool to see that full circle.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I'm waiting for the day when I don't know if I'll ever know this, but I'm waiting for the day whenever I have a grandkid. We'll see.
What do you consider your biggest accomplishment, both professionally and personally, in your life? What do you think is your biggest accomplishment?
Goodness.
Sorry, it's a tough question.
Yeah,
I just think it kind of gives us a little more insight into you.
Is it being a Kansas master teacher, or is it something on a smaller scale that when you go home at night you're like, no, I've accomplished that?
I think it's more that I've heard other teachers say your awards that you've won doesn't really matter that as much as what you do each day. And I feel like what I do each day to try to reach those kids and try to make them have a good day, I feel like that's probably more important, probably.
All right.
And I don't like to be recognized for those kind of things, honestly.
I can't remember if I've ever told you this, but when I taught fourth grade, for 10 years, there was a certain story that we read, and humble was always one of the vocabulary words early on in the year. And you were always an example. I would write it in our vocabulary notebooks. I would tell the definition of humble, and then I would say, example, Mr. Battenfield, and then we'd talk about you for a little bit.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
There's your legacy, the vocabulary notebook example. So if we had to separate your professional life from personal life, is there anything you've done personally where, as we say on our morning announcements, if you could get a medal for it, you would wear that medal?
I think probably just like I mentioned earlier, just where I came from, like personally, like where I've got to now. I feel like just the resilience and the being able to rise above all those, those things that I had as a kid that, wasn't probably a place I should have been. So I feel like just rising above that probably.
Where do you think you found the strength to be so resilient and overcome that?
I remember telling myself as a kid, and when certain things were happening, like I just always told myself, I was like, I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna save more money. I'm going to make sure I make better choices so that I don't have to be in the situations like that I was as a kid.
Yeah, I think it's easy to focus on the negative, and I think that it's pretty powerful that you started at such a young age telling yourself that and focusing on the positive and what you can change and what is in your control, and how that really has changed your life completely. Yeah.
We were reading a story in my class yesterday, and there was a question because the character had multiple moments in the book where she had to deal with whatever was happening and couldn't take charge. She felt like she had no control. And then there was a clear 1 or 2 points in the book where she did have to take charge. So my class started talking about what are times when you take charge. And it's kind of hard to have that discussion with 11-year-olds. But if they're listening now, would you feel, as someone who clearly at a young age had to say, I'm taking charge of this moment in my life, and you had to do that probably day after day after day, would you say that that's something you still do as an adult? Like you wake up and there's things that you take charge of, or do you just let things happen to you?
I feel like I take charge of them. You kind of almost have to do that, like be ready for those kind of challenges, or kind of look ahead and start to see what challenges might come up, and just be ready for those, I guess.
Are you the kind of person who writes down goals and puts them on a sticky note on your mirror?
I don't necessarily write down goals, but I'm really good at lists.
Are you?
Yeah.
You're a list checker?
Yeah.
I need to get better at that.
Oh, for sure, me too. Yeah, I make lots of lists. The checking things off is always the challenge.
But you definitely have
Yeah.
a visualization then of like you have things that you need to accomplish, and you like to see the success, the progress.
For sure.
Well, and I think you hit on a good point also, that just because you have overcome so much, it doesn't mean that you're going to stop having things come up each day, right? I mean,
for sure.
Do you see that in your adult life also?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's struggles all the time. I mean, you just have to try to get through those and just put your head down and just keep trying to blow through them.
Maybe now would be a good time to transition to some questions that students had for you.
Okay.
All right.
Let's
So, only because we might get some funny answers, I'm going to ask some. But I tried, when I was asking my students, I said, let's focus on him being a really good teacher. So you get to determine if this focuses on that. What's your favorite color?
Green.
Okay.
Where is Mr. Battenfield's house at?
I live on Sherman Street. Great question.
Definitely. We will not give specific coordinates to that.
What's his favorite food?
My favorite food is cheeseburgers. It
Now,
really is.
Something that the
Go
adults
ahead.
know about
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Battenfield is that in the past couple of years he's become a vegan, right?
Yes,
And
I have.
okay, so for those who are unaware, a vegan is someone who doesn't eat anything made with any type of animal products, right?
Correct.
Okay, tell us about your cheeseburger infatuation.
Okay, so that's what I've always loved as a kid, and but now last night I just had an Impossible Burger that I cooked on the grill with dairy-free cheese, which was absolutely amazing.
Is it plant-based?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is plant-based, and it comes like in a package like like ground beef does almost, and I just
Just
mix
cook
in
it
all.
like
Yeah,
hamburger.
cook
Okay.
it just the same. Doesn't take nearly as long to cook them.
Do you have a pet?
I have 2 pets. I have a dog. His name is Oscar, and I have a cat. Her name is Lucy.
Do you like monster trucks?
I've ever been to a monster truck challenge or whatever they call those, but I do like them.
Does he have a wife?
I do have a wife. Her name is Stacy.
How long have you and Stacy been married?
The 18 years.
18 happy years.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Where were you born, Mr. Battenfield?
I was born in Independence, Missouri.
So, what inspired you to become a PE teacher, specifically for PE?
Gotcha. In high school, I really enjoyed my PE classes, and I enjoyed my PE teacher. And I felt like if I did have the opportunity to go to college, that's definitely what I would do.
Did you take any funky PE classes in high school? Like my favorite one was basketball, softball, football. Loved it.
Yeah. Like my senior year, they changed the way that high school ran, and they were offered separate classes just similar to that. And I remember my favorite was volleyball, basketball. I really enjoyed that, and I also enjoyed the weight training, which that was a class that all the guys took. So
yes, I could imagine. So your love for volleyball goes way back. You and your that ties into the undefeated streak that you all had, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Battenfield and Mr. Ramirez and some other local gentlemen had. Was it a co-ed team?
Yeah, it was a co-ed team.
Okay, sorry.
Mrs. Mitchell was on our team.
Yeah, some other people that work here, right?
Yeah.
Very good in rec league volleyball. You should ask him about it sometime. There's your personal medal. There's
Personal achievement.
yes.
What is your favorite sport if you had to choose one?
Goodness. Favorite sport to play is probably volleyball. By far, I would think.
What do you like so much about it?
I don't know. It's just a really fun sport.
Now, that's your favorite sport to play. What's your favorite sport to watch?
Favorite sport to watch is football. NFL football usually. Like I don't watch college football that much, but NFL is by far my favorite to watch.
So, are you a big Chiefs fan?
Oh, for sure.
Chiefs, they're okay.
My kids in my class were wondering, what's your favorite lesson or activity or skill that you teach kids? Is it something that has like a really big impact on their lives, like, I don't know, maybe throwing and catching, or is it something more complicated? What's your favorite thing to teach?
My favorite thing is teaching double dutch. I really enjoy that. I think because I can get the kids from being nervous or like thinking that they can't do it at all, and getting in just a couple of days being able to get kids to jump in with kids turning as well. That's kind of the biggest thing is, can I get kids to turn the jump rope with kids jumping? Because I can turn it to get the kids to be able to jump, but can I get the kids to turn well enough so that they can have their friend jump?
Is there an insider tip or secret as to how to turn it?
For turning, they need to make sure they make slow, big circles with their arms, and the ropes need to hit the floor in a steady beat. I tell them about 100 beats per minute.
Do you put on music to do the 100 beats a minute?
Usually I just, at the very beginning, I'll have an online metronome, and so they can hear about what it sounds like, and then just try to get them to put that in their head, and so they can turn to that beat.
Cross-curricular instruction.
Right.
No wonder
exactly.
he's a master.
No wonder he's a master teacher. Exactly. So you've been teaching for 19 years. How long have you been at Village specifically?
I've been here since 2011, so it looks like about my 11th year, I would guess.
And before that, you were in Emporia, right?
Yes, I've taught at Emporia my whole career. So before that, I was at Lowther South. That was a 5th grade building. I had only 5th graders, and I did that from 2004 to 2010, something like that. And then before that, I was a half-time health teacher at the middle school.
Gotcha.
For 1 year.
Cool. How do you come up with your activities and games?
A lot of it I find on Twitter, and just connecting with other PE teachers. That has been lately like my go-to of how to find better games and better activities to support what we're doing. So
you Twitter. Do you also TikTok?
No, I do
No.
not TikTok.
I've seen some pretty good teaching tips on TikTok also. It's
Really?
not all just fun and games.
Okay,
Yeah.
well
Yeah.
maybe I'll have to
Check it out.
check it out.
Yeah.
There was a particular student who asked, how many days a week does Mr. Battenfield work out? And so as I turned to start typing this student goes, his calves are huge. So we need to know, what's the routine?
I don't necessarily follow a routine, but I usually intentionally work out probably 6 days a week. I try to take one day off, but it's usually yoga or weights. Lately, I haven't been running as much, but a lot of weights lately and yoga.
Now might be a good time for me to interject here with a personal tidbit about Mr. Battenfield, because we've heard about how gritty he is and how he kind of sets these goals and is uncompromising until he's reached success, but also he works out. So I went, as many listeners know, distance running is kind of my thing. And so Mr. Battenfield is also pretty passionate about it as well. So I think it was 2 summers ago, I set this challenge. I was going to fundraise for a cause. And so I set up a mile loop around my neighborhood, and every loop that I did, I was able to get people to donate maybe $1. And so I was able to collect a couple $100s for this cause. And so I talked to Mr. Battenfield. He said he would be interested in doing the same thing. Now, not trying to flex here. I did 30 miles, but I also did a lot of walking. I stopped and had some refreshments along the way. I had friends come hang out in my driveway, so it was kind of a casual affair for me. Well, on the day that Mr. Battenfield decided to do his own personal challenge in his neighborhood, he was uncompromising. This guy went 44 miles.
Correct.
From his front doorstep back to his front doorstep over and over and over again. Pretty amazing toughness.
Yeah.
And then that also, I think, came after you had been to Camp Alexander.
Correct.
And I had set up this race where it was a mile loop, but if you've been to Camp Alexander, it's some pretty rugged trails. And there had been some rain that week, so things were muddy, they were rocky, and we did get lucky with really good weather on that day. But in just under 6 hours, which was the time limit of this event, Mr. Battenfield hammered out 30 muddy miles, demolished the competition. He became a local endurance celebrity on that day. People wouldn't stop talking about you. People that you don't even know were like, so you know that guy? You know that guy? Yeah, I do. So anyway, this guy sitting to my right is a machine when it comes to just saying he's going to do something. There's no quitting him.
And there's always the follow through.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Sure. So previously we'd mentioned that you're a vegan, even though you have this love of cheeseburgers. Students are kind of curious. Do you follow a specific diet? And since we know that you're a vegan, do you feel like that has made you a better weightlifter or yoga participant or a better runner?
I don't necessarily follow a diet. There is a doctor that has written many books that his name's Dr. Greger, and he has like a plan of certain things you should eat each day. And I did that when I first switched into like being plant-based. But now I really don't. I kind of have it in the back of my mind, the things that he suggests that you have each day. So I don't necessarily follow a diet. I just make sure I try to stay away from the meats and cheeses and dairies and eggs and that sort of thing. So, and your second part of the question was,
do you feel like it's made you a better
yes.
competitor?
I honestly did. Like when I first switched over, I felt like I had so much more energy, and I was able to run better and lift better with less exertion, I guess. That's really what it feels like.
So, do you have trouble when you're traveling? If you go somewhere, how do you accommodate your diet in that instance?
That is quite difficult. Whenever I do travel, I do a lot of. I have to take a cooler and prepare some meals and just have things kind of ready because there's not a lot of places that are good for having a vegan or a plant-based diet.
Do you have a hard time finding things around here, or do you order stuff online? Where do you get your products?
Just a lot of it I get from Aldi, actually. That's where a lot of it is. Occasionally I'll have to go to like Topeka or Wichita to get special things, but I'm able to find most stuff here.
And you do most of the cooking?
Yes, I do.
Where did you learn to cook?
In high school, I worked at a restaurant. I did I started out as a dishwasher when I was 16, and then I really wanted to cook, and so I got to slide into that position. So I did a lot of cooking there.
So another question that students had, they want to know when you retire, even though you look like you're about 25. I don't know why they're thinking retirement. But when you retire, what do you see yourself doing? Are you going to get another job, or are you going to camp out on a beach and never leave?
I don't really know. I feel like because I love to stay so busy, I feel like I'll probably get another job. But when I'll retire from this job, it could be a while because I'm still enjoying what I'm doing, and I don't think I can officially retire for another, probably 13 or 14 years, something like that. But like right now, I feel like I can go quite a bit longer. So.
And lastly, when you aren't teaching and preparing master lessons, what are the hobbies that you do to keep yourself busy?
Oh, I like to play disc golf. I like to go fishing. I like, just doing things with my family and try to enjoy those moments, because especially with my youngest, because that time goes by fast. So.
Sure does. All right. Well, thanks for your time, Mr. Battenfield. We really appreciate you setting aside a little bit of your day to let people hear your story, because there is a lot of good lessons that we can pull from that. Things like goal setting, making sure that you take charge of your life when you can, and a lot of other things. So thanks a lot. Is there anything that you want to say before we push the stop button?
I don't believe so, but I just want to say thank you for having me. It was a good time to be here, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for everything you do for Village and our community with all your other service opportunities. It's great.
Yeah, thank you so much. You're an inspiration to all of us.
Thank you.
We have a little extra surprise for Mr. Battenfield when he listens to this episode. We know how much the students and staff here at Village love Mr. Battenfield, and we wanted them to take a second to tell you why.
Hey, ABAT, it's Mr.
and Mrs. Snyder. We're so glad you're getting the recognition you deserve. Your innovative teaching inspires your colleagues and excites your students. Every day, you model what it means to be a team player.
We're thankful for our time together at Village and thrilled that the miles between us have only strengthened our friendship. See you soon.
He's the best teacher ever. He just makes me happy. I like Mr. Battenfield because he's a really good teacher and he always has the best games.
Mr. Battenfield is the best teacher in the world.
You're a very nice teacher and you're already fun and you always do fun stuff for us in gym.
I like Mr. Battenfield because he's always kind, hopeful, and he cares about others.
Mr. Battenfield is a well-respected staff member in our building. He's always generous with his time and willing to help anyone. The positive energy Mr. Battenfield radiates is admirable. I can't think of a student that doesn't enjoy visiting him in PE. His dedication, enthusiasm, and commitment is one of a kind.
I think Mr. Battenfield's a good teacher because he's nice and really fun.
Mr. Battenfield is the best teacher because he's nice to everybody.
Mr. Battenfield is sweet, nice, and he makes sure everyone has his fun.
I think Mr. Battenfield is just a really great teacher, and he really deserves it. He's always, been there for me, you can say.
Because I used to not like going into school, and he used to help me get everything and come to class. I like how when you're so excited, you make fun games for us, and when the fun games, you show us the fun games how to play, we all get excited too.
Mr. Battenfield is a very good teacher, and he provides lots of fun games for students in his class.
Mr. Battenfield is a good teacher because he makes students laugh a lot. I like that you're not embarrassed to do something that you don't know how to do.
I love that you take your time for us to do the activities, and you also participate with us in doing an activity. You are sweet, kind, generous, loving, thoughtful, amazing, and the best PE teacher.
Come up with great ideas for PE and inspire me to work out more and to do more sports and go more places. You make me want bigger calves.
He inspires us to do things like exercise, and he always knows what's best for us. His lessons are fun, and he is the best PE teacher.
Mr. Battenfield, you're a great guy, and you taught me a lot of athletic skills during my time here at Village this year.
Mr. Battenfield is more than just a PE teacher. He is a friend. If you have something wrong or you're sad or hurt, he'll step out of his way to help you. Mr. Battenfield is caring, kind, thoughtful, and helpful. What I mean by helpful is he helps you exercise and stay fit. Mr. Battenfield is one of my favorite teachers.
Hey, Mr. Battenfield, you are the nice and kindest. You are nice and kind. You have so much kindness inside you. You are very funny, and you have helped me through a lot. You are amazing, and you help me with all my skills, and most importantly, you're one of the kindest guys out there. Thank you, Mr. Battenfield.
Mr. Battenfield is the best.
Mr. Battenfield is the best person in the whole school.
Mr. Battenfield's ideas are inspiring. I'm gonna thank him for letting us do fun stuff like that. And to be honest, he's a really good teacher.
One thing I like about Mr. Battenfield is that whenever someone doesn't understand how to do something in his class, he's always willing to help with whatever you have troubles with. If you can't progress with it, he'll show you how to do it. And he also gives us nicknames. Like, for one nickname, he calls me Jelly. It feels pretty nice because whenever he does give us nicknames, you just get used to that, and then your classmates will start calling you that sometime. And it just becomes like your new nickname.
I think Mr. Battenfield deserves the Kansas Master Teacher Award because he always is helping his students, and he is very caring about his students, and he always helps explain something whenever someone doesn't know what they need to be doing, and he is just all around a great PE teacher.
I love PE because Mr. Battenfield plays fun games.
Mr. Battenfield's the best. He's positive, a go-getter, and a true professional. He is dedicated to his students, he's always willing to help when help is needed, and he is the ultimate team player.
Congratulations on winning the Kansas Master Teacher Award, Mr. Battenfield! There is nobody out there who deserves this award more than you. You are caring, passionate, hilarious, and you always put our students first. Not only are you a good teacher to our students, but you're the best coworker and friend any of us could ask for. Teaching side by side with you for 10 years, I've learned so much from you both on the field and off. Did you hear that? Did you hear what I did there? Things like how to throw a disc in disc golf, or the best way to teach a student how to jump rope. The proper order in which to remove eggs from an egg carton, and even technology things. You've even taught me how to, quote unquote, practice my words. All that blabbering to say, I'm one of the luckiest people to teach by your side, and I strive daily to follow in your footsteps and be a better person. And I'm not even being sarcastic. Thank you for all you do for our village family. We are incredibly lucky to have you.
Okay, Mr. Battenfield, we see that you know what's coming up next. It is the Triple Scoop. Coming up is some Q&A rapid fire questions, followed by a sports update and a current event update. All right, Mr. Battenfield, Miss Evans, begin.
Yes, and just as a reminder, we as co-host did not do a great job at being rapid, so we're going to work on that this time and see if we can improve our skills. I think Mr. Battenfield has it.
Let's do
All right,
this.
ready. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
Do you prefer summer or winter?
Summer.
Casa Ramos, El Arito, or Taco Bell?
Casa Ramos.
What is your dream vacation in 10 seconds or less?
Going to Jamaica.
What's one thing you would do when you were there?
Hang out on the beach.
Nice.
Favorite movie, song, or book?
Favorite movie, probably the Star Wars movies.
Any particular one?
Not really. I just like them all.
Do you prefer breakfast or dinner?
Breakfast.
Headphones or speakers?
Speakers.
What is your favorite piece of playground equipment?
Probably the pull-up bar.
Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I'm a morning person by far.
What time does your alarm go off?
4:50.
Nice. And lastly, what do you like most about Village?
I love this. I love the students by far. That was an easy answer.
All right, cool. So much more rapid.
Yep, and
All
Mr.
right.
Banfield schooled us on the rapid fire questions for sure.
He did. Scoop 2, sports. So we're still in the midst of March Madness. Basketball, it's bouncing along, isn't it? Well, at the time of this recording, we are 2-3 days ahead of the Final Four competitions on Saturday. The KU Jayhawks have advanced to take on the Villanova Wildcats. That should be a great game. It's a number 1 seed versus a number 2 seed. They play just after 5 o'clock p.m. on Friday. So by the time you're listening to this episode, you'll probably know the result of that game. On the other side of the bracket, you have Coach K and his Duke Blue Devils taking on the North Carolina Tar Heels, which is a traditional rivalry in college basketball. And to cap things off, this is Coach K's final season coaching Duke, where he's been for, goodness gracious, feels like a lifetime.
I am kind of divided on this because we kind of have a personal connection to one of the KU players, and so I really want him to succeed and do well, but I'm also going to say that it'd be pretty cool for Coach K to end his career with a national championship. So it will be very interesting to see how this all shakes out.
One thing I always have to remember is it is kind of crazy that we have such a prominent figure in college basketball in our backyard.
Right,
here in
very
Kansas.
close to us, yes.
Yep, it's amazing.
Yeah.
On another sports story, I recently came across an article saying that at some NFL meeting, the Chiefs have announced that they are considering building a new stadium. And while that might not seem all that juicy, that stadium might be in the state of Kansas, not across the border in Missouri. Now, I don't want to misspeak here, but I know that the only prominent sports team that I know of that is a professional team in the state of Kansas is Sporting KC.
Right, because the Chiefs are on the Missouri line. So that'd be great for Kansas. For us as Kansas residents, we could really bring the Chiefs home.
Yeah, it'd be something to attach to and be a point of pride, wouldn't it?
Yeah, very interesting to know what they would do with Arrowhead Stadium. That's a massive stadium that I wouldn't think they would just leave to be condemned. So that would be interesting to find more about.
What does happen to these old stadiums and things like that? I can tell you Garth Brooks could play a concert there every once in a while. I'd be all right with that.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on Adele to reschedule, so if we could clear that out, that'd be great.
We should send her this podcast. Maybe she could.
Yeah, Adele, are you listening?
Hello, it's me.
Let's go to Scoop 3. With our final scoop today, here comes some current events. One that kind of hits close to home for teachers that might be listening is this one about the kindergarten hotline. I'm sure many of you have maybe seen this online. I remember I heard about it on the radio a couple of weeks ago, and now it's popping up on some of the kids' news websites that I follow when I'm trying to find news articles for my class to read. There's a school that's created what's called a Pep Talk hotline, and it's by West Side Elementary School in, is it Healdsburg, California? I'm not sure how to say that.
Me neither.
Town name. It's run by an art teacher, Jessica Martin, and an artist by the name of Ashera Weiss, or Weiss. Martin started the hotline because she was concerned about stressful things that her students have gone through, things like wildfires and the pandemic, and so all she wanted to do was bring joy back into their lives. What are your thoughts on this Pep Talk hotline?
Well, I saw it the first time as I was scrolling through Facebook, and I actually was worried that it wasn't a legitimate phone number to call. So I'm glad to hear that it is legitimate and safe to call. And I haven't done it yet, but I think I might try it here this afternoon, see if I can pep up my afternoon.
I think it would help. Let me just give you that number real quick. So all you have to do is you have to dial 707-998-8410. And then Rosalie Potch is an 11-year-old, and she gives you a list of things that you can listen to by pressing certain numbers.
Maybe we could get a little clip of it on here so that we could give a little teaser to our listeners.
That'd be great. Put our editing skills to the test, wouldn't we?
Welcome to Pep Talk, a public art project by Westside School. Bienvenidos a Pep Talk, un proyecto creado por los estudiantes de Westside School.
Para un mensaje feliz, presiona 5.
Please listen to the following options for encouraging messages. If you're feeling mad, frustrated, or nervous, press 1. If you need words of encouragement and life advice, press 2. If you need a pep talk, be grateful for yourself. Dude, live it up. Be you. I trust that you can make things right. Be happy. Try it again. Believe in yourself.
All right, and the last part of that scoop, you've got a little bit of U.S. news.
Absolutely. President Biden has nominated the first ever African American woman to potentially be on the Supreme Court. Her name is Ketanji Brown Jackson, and it looks like she is an amazing candidate.
You know, I've been keeping up with the news as I have a habit of doing, and it really is incredible to hear all of her qualifications. And then not only is it her qualifications and her schooling and how she's practiced law and all this kind of stuff, but also her character seems to be
impeccable.
Impeccable was the word I was going to say. I know that you were tying this into our earlier interview with Mr. Battenfield. What were you going to say about that?
Well, I was just thinking about how Mr. Battenfield talked about making good choices and overcoming obstacles that he had faced in his life, and I think Judge Jackson is right there with him. I was reading an article, and I couldn't believe this when I read it, but when she told her high school guidance counselor that she wanted to attend Harvard, the guidance counselor warned her that she shouldn't, quote, set her sights so high. And I think this is just great advice and inspiration to all of us. Someone who is supposed to be guiding her and pushing her in the right direction told her she was trying to do too much or go too far. And look at what she has achieved, even when someone told her she shouldn't set such big goals.
That's a really good connection because, you know, as parents and as teachers, we have to be really careful, or we always want to be careful about not letting students or our kids be disappointed, but also we have to let them know that it's okay to chase these crazy dreams and see what can happen because of them. And that's what Miss Jackson has done.
Yeah, and she's about to fulfill one of the biggest dreams that you can have. When you become an attorney and want to go the route of becoming a judge, the highest honor would be becoming a Supreme Court justice.
And so, to put this in perspective for the kids listening, when the president chooses you or appoints you to be in this position, you're there for the rest of your life until you decide that you don't want to be. So I'm not sure how old she is, but let's say that someone's appointed who's 50. They could very well be there and have a lasting mark on America for the next 30 to 40 years.
Yeah, and the decisions they make on the Supreme Court affect each of us every single day. So it's a very big deal and big honor for her.
Well, we've reached the end of all of our content for episode 2, so let's land this plane.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to The Village. Be sure to check the podcast website that will be emailed to teachers and all other stakeholders. There is additional content on the website where you can learn more about what we talked about today.
Thanks again to ValueNet in Emporia for the grant that's funding this project and all the students and staff who are making this possible. As always, reach out with questions, comments, ideas, or those catchy jingles to the following email address: village.eagles@usd253.net. And like we say around here, now, to the Eagles in the front and the Eagles in the back, you know what's up. This is where it's at.